All right, Renee, can you share a little bit about your role as founder and executive creative director and how it fits into the bigger picture at Miller Group?
So thanks, Daniela, for having me on the show. My role is basically at this point, overseeing all of the activity of the agency and coordinating efforts with everybody on the team. And we've been at it for 36 years, and things, as you know, have changed a lot, especially now with AI actually in some ways becomes a member of the team now. You know, we've got so many different programs that we use, AI is so quick on so many fronts. So unfortunately, a lot of people are losing their jobs. A lot of companies are downsizing. I think we're going through a time, a correctional. We don't, I always remind people that AI is a tool, and everyone wants to think that it's the next bright object. It's going to, do everything and be all. And it still has limitations. It's still in the early stages. And we still need people who understand, who know what they're doing, who are smart and who are human.
Of course, yeah, it's totally important to understand that as a user and as a business owner. AI eventually will take over, jobs, but then again, it'll create new jobs, just like the dot-com era, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. So for our listeners, what does a typical day in a life look like for you, especially running a virtual agency?
There's no real typical day. I spend most of my time with business development, working on ways to generate qualified leads for my company and for our clients. And every day is different, which is, I think, what makes it nice working in this environment. We've been virtual for years, even before COVID. So we've got somebody in Israel, we've got someone in Texas, people in California, somebody in North Carolina. I mean, we're a small agency, but we're very spread out.
Gotcha. Yeah. So every day is a little different. That keeps it fun though,
It
You don't know
does.
what to expect. That could be a good or bad thing.
Right, right.
But yeah, so I noticed that you made a very intentional decision to focus on something called challenger brands, so like the underdogs. What does that actually mean in practice, and what drove that direction for the agency?
So that's a good question. We actually realize there's a sweet spot with mid-sized companies and challenger brands. And challenger brands are anyone who's not in the number one spot in the category. And the category leaders are, Nike. We all know Nike, Apple. So who's second? Who's third? Who's 10th? Who's 100th in technology and consumer packaged goods? Procter and Gamble is a multinational. It's a leader. Then who else perceives themselves as companies that perceive themselves as challengers? They're not number one, they're not number 10, maybe they're number 80, maybe they're a funded startup that wants to take their brand to the next level. And these companies, the mid-sized companies, don't have the same internal clout as the multinationals. They don't have the resources, and they're looking for partners who can provide those resources that they don't have in-house. Everyone, all of us, no matter how big or small, want to have reassurance. We want to know that there's a partner we can trust. And with mid-sized companies, their needs are a little bit different than multinationals. So that's why we are going after this group based on a lot of experience. And the brands that we've worked with over the years, most of them have been on mid-size level. They're not small and they're not multinationals. And mid-size companies make up, I think it's somewhere between 30 and 40% of the gross revenue, US gross revenue. And I don't remember exactly, but I know it's a large part of the gross revenue is from mid-sized companies. And the mid-sized company, the challenge is I'm making it up, we're at 20 million and we want to get to 50 million. And that's very different than a multinational or a startup.
Right. Okay. So moving on to industry trends. What are some major shifts that you are seeing in your industry right now?
So I think people are downsizing a lot. I think there's still a lot of uncertainty in the market. And I think consumers, there's a bit of slowing on spending. I also see that a lot of companies, as I mentioned earlier, are looking at AI for a quick fix. It's good, and people are working on some really cool programs that are going to eventually, in the future, if you listen to Peter Diamandis, who's an amazing gentleman, where we're going to be eventually with our health and with society through AI. And so we're all kind of looking to the future to see how are things going to be different. And the reality is, I think we get a little bit spoiled when we see that you ask Claude or Chat or, Gemini or any of these AI to do something, and it's done within, in some cases as little as literally a few seconds to 5 minutes, and you've got a whole plan. Now those plans still need to be looked at and analyzed, and we still need input. I also think clients tend to internally come up with solutions to problems they may or may not have, and they often come in and are looking for an executional fix. So, can you rebuild our website? Can you help us with get more leads? We help them define what the challenge is first and foremost. And then we do what's called root cause analysis, help them determine what's causing this. If we define the problem as where sales are lagging, so, and they might come in and say, hey, I need to beef up my website. Why do you need to, why? Asking a lot of questions. And then we realize the problem isn't that they need to beef up their website. The problem is that they have a lagging number of sales. And then we talk to the one person who isn't in the room when a company is making a decision, and that's their consumer. We go in and we find out from them. We ask them questions about the brand, and then we go back to the client with generally we've got a new product we're launching called Street Pulse, and it's a process where we're actually talking to consumers on video and listening to them and getting back to the customer with, here's feedback from your consumer, here's what they're thinking. You may be thinking this is what we learned. Sometimes it's just to validate what the client already knows. In one case, for example, it was a grocery store, and the problem was that they had a lack of traffic in the store, and it's a very popular store in Southern California. When we talked to consumers, some of the issues were we had no idea it was there. So that's an easy fix. Let's get some signage. We even had some out of the box things. You've got all of this traffic, literal, not foot traffic, but a lot of vehicles driving by. Let's put up some big signs. It's in an area where it's a mixed use building. So you've got apartment dwellers. In the courtyard, let's do a weekly farmers market. Let's get the people in the building out if they're not coming into the store, let's get them in the courtyard and get them to buy through the farmers market. Different touch points based on the feedback from the customer. And, one of the issues was parking. They don't know where to park. It's a little confusing. And once they get in the parking garage, it says maximum $37. Well, in Los Angeles, people don't pay $37 to park. They didn't know that the parking was free, complimentary for 90 minutes. So there's all, the more you talk to a consumer and the deeper you go, the more information you can get and deliver back to a client. And some of it was kind of a big aha moment. And some of it's, okay, you validated that. Now what do we do? And so we also talk to stakeholders, the sales staff. We talk to the marketing team of the company. We talk to the C-suite. And after looking at all of this information, we do desktop research. So we're able to come back and say, here's your challenge, and then here's some recommendations for solving this. But defining the challenge first, because we all think we know what's wrong, but we don't always go deep enough.
Right. Yeah. So really collecting all that data and identifying those bottlenecks, like you're saying, is very important in order to kind of build a growth strategy or to overcome an obstacle that they have no idea they have, right? So it
Yeah,
has,
data is easy to get because
yeah, yeah,
with AI spits out all kinds of data,
yeah,
and we have all kinds of ways to measure things. But the one thing we're not measuring is consumer reaction, and that's really important. What is your customer saying, and what are people saying? What are your employees saying that they're not telling you that they might tell us? There's
right,
can be a disconnect.
right. So how would you say the rise of AI has impacted your growth strategy or like your strategic thinking in your company? I know you've been pretty candid about, that being the source of like real competition for agencies.
It's I don't think that AI is going to replace agencies. I think it's what it's doing is it's getting agencies to restructure and to really look at where do I fit in anymore. And I think that's the issue is a lot of the mid-sized companies turn to AI. Well, we can have AI generate blog posts for us. We don't need your help with that. We can have AI help with graphics or video, and those are executional. But I think in the long run, AI, and I will tell you from personal experience, because I do use it a lot, it helps, but it doesn't solve problems. Sometimes you just need outside resources to come in and help you think through. AI is great when you kind of need a job done. It's really good. It's got that skill set. It's a perfect companion to your business. It's also very good as a collaborator,
Mhm.
but in terms of having real life experience, that's what a boutique agency can bring to a client is candid real life experiences and digging deeper. AI does what it's one of the gentlemen who works with us, Bill Williams, garbage in, garbage out. So whatever you put into AI, you're going to get back out. And sometimes you just need another set of eyes, another point of view.
Right, yeah. At the end of the day, you have to treat it like if it's an employee that you have to kind of shape, right? So
Right.
it is really about the content you put in and kind of the instructions you put into it also. You have to be very, very specific. And yeah, like you said, agencies need to be adapting to these new trends nowadays. So it's like if you're not using AI, you're behind at this point.
Right. And I've been on a lot of webinars of how to use it, when to use it. There's all kinds of tools out there, and it's really easy to get caught up in the excitement. I was on something a few weeks ago, and I was getting frustrated because instead of teaching and training, they were selling. And I realized after a few hours, I don't need to learn how to use this system. It's too technical. It's not something I should be learning. So I just jumped off, and then I asked my team, check this out, work with it, tell me what you think. And it was a lot of hoopla, a lot of excitement. But the bottom line was, I wasn't getting what I needed. So, I think we get caught up in the bright, shiny object. Ooh, this can help me with this, and this. And you really need to decide how much time are you going to put into training your team and yourself, and what are your expectations. It's not going to solve, if you've got a big issue, it's not going to solve it. And sometimes it's just really digging deep into what's going on and sitting back. And I don't always have the answers. I'm grappling with where we go next. And that's, I could ask AI all day for the next month. And really, ultimately, I need to have my own insight, and I need to come back and I need to get feedback from other people as to where we can be most useful for them. And that's why I think it's not the end all be all. It's just the beginning.
Right.
Again, it's a tool. It's like
It is a tool.
we got so caught up, you're too young to remember this, but the internet, when the internet first came out, I mean, people would literally sit there and wait. You'd have these weird noises. Have you ever seen an old video of somebody waiting to get on AOL? I mean, that was the first, and we're literally going, come on, come on. And people would say, this isn't gonna last. And we're like, are you crazy? This is where we're going,
Yeah.
and it was just, it's where it is today and where it'll be, in the next 5 to 10 years. I mean, I think at some point we're going to have, like, literally have avatars that will be in our homes. We already have robots that are taking over and teaching us things. And I don't know. I have no idea. It should be interesting to see. If you're open and aware and you use it properly, great. But I think there's also a lot of mistrust. We just did some interviews. We're doing a series of interviews for our Street Pulse, which is the new tool that I'm telling you about, just to see what consumers think about AI, what they think about brands in general. And the people are very skeptical about brands. They don't want to give their information anymore. They feel like it's being taken from them. And I think at some point there are also some lawsuits out there where brands are saying, customers are saying, no more price fixing, no more telling us what you think and being in control. Consumers are now getting in control. They're taking over user generated content, UGC. Used to be that the advertiser controlled everything, and now consumers are speaking up. You've got influencers, but that's another issue. To consumers trust influencers. So if a brand brings in an influencer and they're not trustworthy, that kills the brand. Or if a brand steps out and miscalculates their messaging, people speak up today. You can go on Reddit, you can go on Google, you can go on people's blog posts, you can go on Slack. I mean, there's so many channels, and there's so many ways, unfortunately, that a brand a brand that's been endearing for years can tank.
Mm-hmm.
They do one thing wrong. So it's really critical that the brands stay authentic, that they stay trustworthy, that they really, and with all the different channels, it's relentless. It's just relentless. People are spending, I think, on average, a minimum of, I think, 2.5 hours a day on social. And that's like if you look at your over a lifetime, that's like 5.5 years of your life. We're asking people, what are you searching for? Because Daniela, how easy it is to get caught up in. You just get on looking for something, and all of a sudden, and a half an hour later, you say, wow, did I just spend a half an hour looking at—
You're like, worth the time. Oh, I got distracted.
Distraction.
Yeah.
It's a distraction. Yeah. And some people are putting guardrails on, saying, I don't want my kids to spend 3-4 hours a day looking at video, because it's very easy to do that. It's easy for us to disappear from our own lives and jump into other people's. It's always been that way, and it's getting worse.
It is. It's definitely something people need to be more conscious about, especially, when talking about mental health. Social media, obviously, we all know this now, that it greatly affects one's mental health. And if you're not kind of conscious of that, or, have a routine for yourself, you can easily spend your life, online.
You bring up a great point, because I think right now there's a lot of angst. We're seeing more suicides, teenage suicides, kids go in therapy in their, late teens, early adult, suffering climate anxiety and just social anxiety in general. And it's very sad. I think there's a lot of bullying that's done online. There's shape shaming, where
Body shaming.
body
Yes.
shape,
Yes.
there's
The unrealistic standards,
exactly. And then even with news, like I think today, fake news, and what is real anymore. And I think what's real is what people think is real. It's not reality anymore. Years ago, there were 3 channels, and people would get their news on one of those 3 channels, and the newscaster was a trustworthy person who came into your living room and was unbiased. And today that's, it's not that way. There's you look at something and you look at a message and you say, who's sending it? What's their motive? So it's a very different time.
Yes, it is. Sometimes I feel like I was born in the wrong era. I would be so much happier if I didn't have like a phone, on me 24/7.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when you look at do you look at your history? Do you ever look at where you're spending your time?
Yeah, yeah, I
It
do.
surprise you.
It does sometimes. I was like, oh, I forgot about that.
Yeah,
Like you're like, oh, I went down a rabbit hole about this tangent, or
exactly.
yeah,
Exactly.
yeah.
You seem very aware, but
hmm
but it happens to all of us. It really
It
does.
does, yeah. It really does.
It's
It
true.
really, really does. So back to, I kind of want to talk about the like man on the street video content, and going directly to consumers for the insights and, changing your approach on campaigns. Thinking about the work like you mentioned with like the credit unions in our previous call and like moving away from like outdated messaging and letting real consumer input drive the strategy. Like, is this something that you thought of recently, or is this a strategy you've been using for a long time? Because this is new from what I've talking to different like marketing agencies. I haven't heard anything like this, which like it makes total sense, right? Having
Yeah.
the consumers see what they think because they are the ones buying at the end of the day.
Well, and here's the reality. We've been doing consumer research for years. We start every engagement by asking the consumer questions. So what we're doing now is we're using consumer man on the street for social, and we're also using it separately to get information for a client. Instead of doing a focus group, not in lieu of a focus group, but if you need some quick pulse research. For example, we were talking to a company that has it's a newfangled drink from Asia. And we did some sampling, man on the street sampling. And
Mhm.
what we learned is that people love the drink, but they have no idea which brand this client is. They did not know the name of the company. And so we said, this is a Me Too brand. If you want to brand this with your name, we've got to think differently. So we're able to bring them real learning, and watch as the consumer, when we ask the consumer, what company makes this? Which company do you buy this brand from? Which company do you support? Which brand do you support? And what they said was they're all the same. We just like the drink. It's a new drink. It's fun. It's got a little pop, and it does some cool things. And again, they did not know the brand. They didn't know any of the brands. So that kind of learning works really well. That kind of consumer research. It's great with consumer packaged goods. It works with retail. Some industries, it's that kind of man on the street is a little more tricky when it comes to business to business. So when it comes to business, we might go back and do more traditional research. We might do one-on-one research. It's like everything else. It's a tool, and we also use the man on the street for the Miller Group to show brands how consumers are thinking about them and what consumer behavior. And in some cases, it's people say we already know that. In some cases, they say that's interesting. Tell me more, because consumers will tell you things on the spot that they might not say in a focus group. They're getting paid, and they know that the client is sitting behind a mirror. And a lot of times with smaller companies, decisions need to be made quickly. So we can go out and we can talk and we can say, here's some quick learning. Especially great with like I said, when you're wanting to launch a new flavor in your consumer packaged good, you're wanting to test pricing. You want to find out a lot of clients say we're not we'd like more consumer awareness, and we say, are you able to measure that right now? No, we don't know how much awareness we have in the market, because the smaller companies don't have that capability. They don't have that information. The
Mhm.
multinationals know how much awareness they have. So we can go out and we can just test. It's basic testing, basic questions. This isn't the end all be all.
No, it seems to be
Preliminary,
working well for you.
it's a
Is there
preliminary
any,
tool.
yeah, is there any part of like this research process maybe, or maybe something else that has been frustrating?
I don't know that it's frustrating. I think we're still in the early stages. And again, we've been doing research for years. So it's just marrying that video and bringing alive. What's really great is a lot of research is done, really
Mhm.
deep research.
Yeah.
We can take a research study that's done for, not necessarily a research study we're doing, that we can do a big research study. Clients don't always have time
Mhm.
to sit through an hour-long presentation, but they want to know top line. So we can take that information and turn it into a 2 to 3 minute video, take top line research and turn it into bring it alive. Here's 3 to 5 minutes. And so it's video and coupling research and video.
Mhm.
And that's, it's been done, but doing it in a way that's a little more creative and a little bit more interesting so that we hold the attention, and it can be modified for the C-suite because they're grappling with different issues than sales. Sales wants to know, what are we doing? And C-suite wants to know, what are we doing? And different stakeholders have different agendas. So taking the messaging and giving each stakeholder a different message, overall key learning, and then here's how it applies to sales folks. Here's how it benefits the C-suite.
Gotcha. All
Here's
right.
how it benefits marketing.
Yeah. I also wanted to ask, like, on your operational side, so like tools and tech, you're running a virtual UB ENC certified agency, and I imagine that you've got a stack of tools keeping everything moving, right? How many subscriptions are you actively like managing right now, and how well do they actually
Scary,
talk to each other? I'm curious.
scary. And I'm at a point where I say I'm learning a lot of this. I just took a course recently I think it was through WeBank, on how to teach your AI to do the basic. I'm still not there yet, but
Yeah.
I'm scared to actually look at how many subscriptions we have. I don't even, I honestly, I don't even know, but there's a lot. There's a
Okay.
lot. Yeah. I just got one for video. I tested a video subscription service, and I joined and that's definitely not going to be a solution to in place of the video production that we do.
Yeah.
But if we need a quick video done, if we need a stock photograph that's not
Oh yeah,
available,
it's amazing what these tools can do.
exactly. And
Yeah,
so
it
you
really is.
spit into your computer and say, I need a picture that looks like this, and that, and but it's not an end all be all. You get a photograph, and then you have to modify it, and it could take a half an hour, it could take an hour. It's the same thing when you're creating a meaningful blog post, because what's happening now with Google is it's really scrutinizing the copy that people are spitting out. And if it's AI generated, it might not get indexed for
Hmm.
your website. So it's really, really, you have to be so careful, and you have to, I see people spitting out. You've got the capability now to spit out thousands and thousands of messages to people. And I throw so much stuff in the trash. We're turning our email into a large trash can, and it's ruining ruining that channel for so many people.
Hmm.
Because how often do you look at your email? You probably glance at it quickly, and most of it you just don't even think about. And what happens is they feel that they have a tool. So you get the same email over and over. Quick question, quick question. I don't even
Yes.
look at what someone's asking. I just throw it in spam. And I don't even unsubscribe, because sometimes they don't even have a subscribe button on their unsubscribe button. They don't follow best
I mean,
practices.
yeah, these are tools, these are tools that whatever, like everyone who's using it, they're using the same templates, right? So like of course it's going to be the same messaging. But I mean, there are ways to kind of customize that, but it's not through subscription like software tools, I would say.
Yeah. The
Yeah.
best messages, Daniela, come from the heart and
Yes.
not through AI. So, for example, I will write something and then I will put it through AI and say, can you just smooth it out? This is what I want to say. This is from my heart, and
Mhm.
it needs a little smoothing out. And sometimes I don't even like what it spits out because it's impersonal. So
Mhm.
it really, most of what I'm writing is coming from me personally, and that's how to use the tool properly.
Yeah, I agree. I think like for the initial like acquisition funnel, there are ways to automate it, but after that, like the conversation aspect of it, as far as like frequently asked questions and general stuff like that, the AI can definitely do. But if
Right.
there's something more specific or like, oh, verify you're not AI, like can you do this, this, and this? Or I don't know, maybe they're like, oh, I think I met you at a conference, and like you can kind of see that in your your inbox. There's like an inbox where like it's needs attention, where the AI will not respond back because it can't. It's not trained to do so.
Yeah.
So I do understand where you're coming from, where like the messaging can feel generated, right? And it doesn't seem real, or it's just like non-human, or you see it all the time. But I can tell you from experience, there is a way to do it, but it is not with these subscription tools.
Yeah, and you know what, Daniela, eventually we're going to get
Yeah.
so sophisticated, but the best AI will be the AI that understands human beings. And like anything else, we're going to have a barrage of companies out there, and some will fail and some will succeed. And it's going to make our jobs and our lives easier. But by the same token, we really need to stay alert and see
Of
where
course,
can
yeah.
we be of service to each other. How do we make a difference? And that's always a question I ask. How can I support you? How can I make a difference? And really understanding a client's needs. When I sit back and I hire someone and I see how they operate, I look for a certain type of individual, and I'm spoiled because I've had so many amazing folks who've come through the Miller Group. Who now a few people who came through 10, 15 years ago are now running companies, and it's just so nice to see. But they were trained to respond a certain way, and the bottom line with a client agency relationship, it's still a relationship.
Mhm.
And AI, in a way, is a one-way relationship. It spits out information, but it doesn't have the feelings, it doesn't understand human behavior yet. It will. It's still in the preliminary stages, and it will be scary. It's already scary smart, and it will get a lot smarter. But right now, it's still so much in its infancy.
Of course, yeah. We're not there yet in terms of it's going to replace team members, right? We're not there yet. I know people talk about it all the time, but in reality, its knowledge base or its capabilities is just too surface level, right?
Right now, it's
Yes, right now.
yeah. There was a Mo Gadot is a used to work at Google. He has a couple of books out, and I don't remember which one I read. It's all about AI, and he said right now AI is a teenager, and they're
Yeah.
petulant, and you should always thank AI. I said that to somebody recently, and they said, yeah, but that's more. You're wasting more electricity. You're wasting more, and that's empowering AI. How are we
Mhm.
going to how are we going to have the means to power? I think it's Elon Musk that's trying to go out and put a bunch of sites in
Yeah, the data centers.
the
Yeah,
data
all these
set.
major
Yeah,
companies are they're buying up, huge plots of lands to build these data centers to be able to power artificial intelligence,
right. Data
right? And
centers in
store all
space.
this data.
Right. Data
Yeah.
centers in space. How will that affect our mental health, and how will that affect our physical health? Are there any repercussions? Is there going to be
We
more?
don't know.
Some people are saying there'll be less illness. Some people say we don't know. We don't know. We just don't know yet. You can't just all of a sudden make a huge sea change without it impacting people. It's not feasible to think that
Yeah.
this isn't going to impact people, and it will.
It will. I just have no idea how.
Yeah,
And we'll see when, when the time arrives, right?
absolutely.
Yeah. So talking about you and your company's future goals, where do you want to be in the next year, in the next 12 months?
I'd love to see how this street pulse plays out. I'd love to see how where it goes, and I'd love to see how we, I'm all about pivoting, and I recognize that a year from now we might be in a totally different place. If you asked me a year ago, I was in the middle of figuring out where I was going to make my next move because our home was affected by the LA wildfires, and we were out for almost a year living in strangers' homes and Airbnbs and hotels. And so I don't know. I don't know. I have a plan, but I'm also open to seeing where things go. And really, I'm talking to a lot of people. I'm beta testing. I'm listening to people. I'm in a curiosity stage right now to say I'm open to the next level. I've got about 10 more years in me, maybe 5 of doing this. I'd love to be able to use my 36 years of experience to continue to benefit people and help them grow their businesses. And I'm very, very, very involved with climate right now. It's a big initiative.
Okay, that's terrible. Wow. I had no idea. But the last year, was it LA or Malibu?
It was
Both.
both.
It was
So
both.
so
It was the huge fire
those
that
huge
spread.
fires that destroyed my entire community.
That's
I'm
terrible.
back. My home survived. It was a miracle. And I think one of the
Goodness.
reasons is where I live in the Palisades, where we have a lot of underground utilities,
Mhm.
and that helped a lot. And the area that we live in, we're in the mountain area. It's not as dense
Mhm.
as the village was, but if to be go through that where you're literally driving down a road and watching homes burning and cars burning and businesses burning and not knowing if you're going to make it to the bottom of the hill. It's a life altering experience. I hope you never have to go through that. And so life's a little bit different now. You
Yeah.
know,
Wow.
it's changed. It's drastically changed. I
Hmm.
maybe I have a book in me. I'm not sure, but you have to realize like it's kind of a wake up call. It's not kind of. It's a wake up call.
Yes.
It's a huge wake up
Very
call. And
important.
fortunately, there weren't as many deaths as there could have been, but there were also nobody anticipated that tens of thousands of homes would be destroyed, and the homes in Malibu are not even being built back up again. So this is all,
Wow.
yeah, it's life altering. And
That
as
would be insane.
somebody would say, now that it's 45 minutes in, I would tell somebody that I'm mentoring, you buried the lead, because that in a journalistic, you'd want that up front. How has your life changed over the last year?
Hmm.
It's not AI, it's climate.
Right.
We see over and over. One of our employees lives in North Carolina, Asheville, North Carolina. Remember those floods?
Yes.
The home
Yes,
was
I do.
impacted by that. And that's why one of my commitments is I'm involved with a lot of organizations focused on climate,
Hmm.
and really you ask, where would I love to be a year from now? I'd love to be working with a lot of these nonprofits, helping them get the message out. How do we effectively stop climate, global, whatever you want to call it? What can we do help society, because our planet will always survive, but as a species, how will that affect us?
Right. Yeah. I mean,
So
there's a lot of crazy events occurring around the
yeah,
world right now.
yeah, and
It's
like I said, things happen, and so any company that's able to come up with a plan, there are a lot of organizations
Mhm.
that are working with startups, help us come up with, your generation will probably solve it, which is, I bow to you guys, because I don't know that my generation will, but your generation, I think, has, they're open-minded, and they're looking at things with fresh eyes, and they want to survive. They want to be able to keep things going for the next generations.
of course, yeah.
And
So
you're welcome to mention, because was a huge part of my life. I mean,
yeah, I mean, I can imagine. It's like you said, it's life changing. You are not the same person you once were, right?
yeah,
Yeah. Okay. Well, as far as where you are now in your life and, you got your business up and running again and things are going well, and I imagine that you've refurbished, redone your house in California, or is that still an ongoing project?
It's ongoing. We're
It's
in,
ongoing.
and
Ugh, I
there's,
can't even
as a
imagine.
result, we have a leaky roof. I mean, there's just things, but it's life, and I will tell you how incredibly grateful that
Hmm.
we survived, that our home survived, that our
Hmm.
neighbors are still here. Because it's not this, our community is pretty much gone.
Yeah.
So, and scattered. So that's the new reality.
Yeah, it really is. Well, Renee, it was great to have you on the podcast. I think we had a very insightful and productive conversation about all areas.
Thanks, Daniela. And, I'd love to stay in touch with you, and I appreciate your time.